Hello. Hello, hi. So, good afternoon. So, this is Krishnaveni. Thank you so much for joining my session. So, we have been talking about the story of life on Earth, and that's ecology. So, thank you so much for joining my session. So, yes, so all of you had lunch? Yes, full from lunch. So tired that you came to listen to my lecture. So don't worry, today is a lecture that you just have to listen to it like a story, exactly like a story, where you have a lot of pictures, where you have a lot of things that you can correlate. So I'll show you an array of pictures. You just have to sit back and listen. There's nothing that you have to make sincere notes. You have to understand the concept, nothing. So everything is pretty cool. So we have nothing like electron transport system. We have nothing like anatomy, so that you have to pay attention, that you'll get bored, nothing. So it's a pretty simple chapter. So that is the beauty of ecology, because you're going to talk about the natural environment. So everything is natural, right? So you and I do not have to do anything. So everything is already done. We are just studying how the things are being correlated. So that is what is under ecology. So once again, in your class 12 portion, so today is Wednesday, so we're talking about class 12 chapter. So here in class 12, so your genetics has the highest weightage, followed by your ecology. So ecology has almost 4 chapters, so each of the chapter is very important. Okay, so we'll go about one by one. So this is an introduction to the entire unit, that is ecology. So we'll see how ecology plays a very important role, because in today's environment, today's contemporary world, so we are facing a lot of issues because we are not being responsible human beings, right? So we are more of human doings than of human beings. So we are more interested in doing something than in being something, right? So at one pace, if you look at, everyone is running behind their own life. They do not care about the others, they do not care about the environment, nothing, right? So we are more of a human doing than of a human being. So how did we transform from human being to human doing? So this is a beautiful example, this chapter ecology. So we have four chapters under this unit. So in each chapter, as we talk about the impact that we have created on the environment, be it pollution, be it whatnot, so you'll understand how we have become human doing than being a human being. Alright, yes, Satyendra Kumar, hello, hi. So thank you so much for joining my session. So please do like, share and subscribe. Okay. So we are starting with ecology, because someone here told me, ma'am, please start ecology. So we are done, left with ecology and your reproduction. So once ecology is done, I'll go ahead with your reproduction. All right. Yes. So we'll go as slowly as possible. So because you people are pretty have the perspective that ecology is a boring chapter because there's nothing interesting. What do you want? When the chapter is interesting, you have a lot of things to remember. When the chapter is boring, you don't feel like studying. Then how should the chapter be? Let me tell you, so when you get into an MBBS, when you get into a medical college, okay, so you start off with your human anatomy, right? So you'll talk about each and every part in detail, much in detail. You'll have the cross section, you'll have the bisection, you'll have your practical sessions, you'll have your theory sessions. So things will complicate so much that you'll be like, hurry yaar, why there are so many parts in the human body? So that will be the level of saturation. So when the chapter is interesting, your problem is, how do I remember everything? When the chapter is boring, you don't feel like studying. So how do you make the chapter interesting? Yes, so that is a big challenge to the faculty who's teaching you. But let me tell you, so since you're taking this from your exam perspective, and since you're really irritated by the questions that you see from this chapter, you're getting bored. But don't just do this for your marks, but do this as a true citizen, as a true human being, as to how ecology can affect your environment, your surrounding, your future generation, etc. Yes, hello, hi Priyanka, good afternoon. So thank you so much for joining my session. So guys, quickly like and subscribe. So please do share the link as well, because ecology I'm not going to teach you as a chapter, but I'm going to tell you as a story. So please do let your friends know that there is something like this going on. Please do lend your support. So please do like, share and subscribe. Alright. So that is what we're going to talk about in ecology. So I remember a very beautiful story once I saw. It was an ad by your Tata Group. So what was that ad? So that actually tells you or explains you how selfish we as human beings are. So what happens? First, they took a group of elderly people, the people who belong to the parent age, about 30-35 years old. Okay. Mughal, hello, hi Mughal. So thank you so much for joining my session. So please do like, share and subscribe. Okay, so the story starts like this. Okay, so there were a group of elderly people. Elderly means 35 plus, 35 plus. They were those people. So the host called those people inside a room. Okay, so then they introduced each other, then they had an address, everyone was comfortable. Then they were given a sheet of paper and 10 minutes time to draw whatever they want. Okay, so the elderly group of people started drawing whatever they know. Okay, some were good artists, so they started sketching whatever they know. Some were like pretty simple, they just drew a flower, they just drew a bird, something as simple as that. Then the host sent them colors. Okay, so everyone took beautiful colors and colored their painting. So whatever it is, so even if they had drawn a square, so they had painted the square so beautifully. All right, so that was it, and everyone had to show their drawing. So everything was so colorful, everything was so beautiful, and all the drawings were put up on the notice board. Okay, and now all the colors they used were put in a basket. So be it yellow color, be it pink color, so all the colors they used, they had put it in a separate basket. Now the elderly group of people went out of the room. Now the host invited young bunch of school kids, okay, kids who are below 10 years. Okay, so they were invited, they were addressed, they were made to introduce each other, and they were all given a sheet of paper and they were all asked to draw. Obviously kids, they used to draw a house, they used to draw a man, they used to draw sun, mountains, etc. So the kids also drew the figures so beautifully. Alright, then what happened? So the kids were asked to color with the colors that were left over in the packet. So all the colors that the elders used were put aside and the kids were asked to color with whatever was left over. Obviously the elder one used every color, yes. So now the kids were coloring with whatever was left, and when they showed their picture, that was also beautiful, and they put it up on the notice board. Now the elderly group of people was also called inside the room. Now they were asked to take a look at the drawing that they drew and the drawing that the kids drew. So what was the conclusion? The elder generation was beautiful. The figures that was drawn by your elder generation was absolutely beautiful because it was colorful. But when you look at the drawing of the kids, it was only black and white because that was all that was left. So their drawings were dull. So this clearly implies or tells you how we as the present generation are very, very selfish, that we don't leave anything for the future generation. Had the elderly people thought about, okay, the people who come behind will need it, I will have to use it in caution. No, I'll have to manage with whatever I have. No, they used all that they had. So that was a very beautiful advertisement that was brought about by your Tata group, and that was really touching because it showed us how jealous we are. So today we are having a good life because our ancestors were pretty careful and responsible, but we as the present generation are really, really careless, that we don't care what is happening and we are more of a human doing than of a human being. So I don't know where our future generation will end to. So yes, people started making movies, series as to how life in 2030 will be. Like we'll have to buy oxygens in 2050, we'll have to pay for oxygen. Everything that we use now as a natural source has to be paid then. So even now we are paying for water. So water is a natural right to all of us, right? But we still pay for good water. So slowly, we are moving to a stage where we'll pay for oxygen as well. Okay, so that was a beautiful example. So if you can find that ad, please do find. So it was just an action, there was no voice. I'm just narrating the story to you. All right, yes, so all those who joined in, hello, hi. Oh, Anthony, you changed your name. Okay, fine, so that was too big for me to pronounce. Anyway, you made it simple. So Anthony Abhi, hello, hi. Yes, Priyanka Singh, good afternoon. So thank you so much for joining my session. So guys, quickly like, share and subscribe my session. Come on, quick. Yes. Okay. So under your unit ecology, okay, you have organism and population, you have your ecosystem, you have biodiversity and conservation, and you have environmental issues. So these are the 4 chapters under your environmental issue. Alright. So each of the chapter has a weightage of 2%. So this has a weightage of 2%, this has a weightage of 2%. So totally how many percent? 8% is the weightage of your unit ecology. So all the topics seem more or less similar, right? Ecosystem is also similar for us. Biodiversity is also similar. Yes, biodiversity, when we talk, yes, we end up talking in environmental pollution. Ma'am, all the topics are the same. They're confusing us. Definitely not. So we'll understand why they started in this order, and we'll also go in this order. Initially, why did they start talking about organism and population? Then what does ecosystem mean? Okay, why biodiversity and conservation is important. If it is not done properly, what are the environmental issues that can happen? Okay, so this is a series. When you watch a web series, you have season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4. It is something similar to that. So every chapter is interconnected with the other. So I thought I will start from the start. Yes, organism and population is the biggest chapter in your ecology, but let's go with that and let's understand the beauty first, and then we'll address the problem. Alright, so before I market something, before I tell you yes this has a disadvantage, so I would tell you the positive things, right? So similarly, this has a lot of problems which we'll start to cry if you actually understand the situation that we have put ourselves into. But before that, let's look into how beautifully the nature has made itself. Alright, many times 10 plus questions are coming in exam. Yes, because it is a very, very important topic and it is the need of the hour. So every individual, every student, every responsible citizen, every literate human being should know about ecology, because that is the future, generation. Okay. So be it education, so in education sector we are moving too forward, right? So now you are having online class. So this was not, we were not aware about this 2 years before, right? So you were going by your school methods, reading, writing, exam, paper correction, etc. Now things are way changed. So in every field we are reaching the topmost point, right? So be it science, anything, astronomy, be it culinary skills. So there are so many innovations in each and every field. But are we taking care of Mother Earth? Definitely not. Okay, so that is the concern, and that is why they make sure that they put a lot of questions. At least then you guys will study and something will enter into your head. So that is the entire logic behind this. This is not that they have to confuse you with a boring chapter as ecology. And trust me, if there is no ecology, there is no human physiology, which is your chapter of interest, and there is no genetics, which is my chapter of interest. Okay, so all of us have to meet here at one point, that is ecology, right? So you and I cannot live without oxygen. So only if oxygen is there, the entire system can have energy, right? Yes. Yes, good afternoon, Daniel. Hello, hi. So you're coming to my session after a very long time. So thank you so much for joining my session. Come on, Daniel, quickly like, share and subscribe. Come on, quick. So you had lunch? Fine. Suppose if there is no oxygen, then my respiratory system cannot function. That is in demand for oxygen. Only if oxygen is there, then your heart will function. If your heart functions, only you have blood supplying to all regions. So the entire system has a standstill, right? So everything is in a chaos. So imagine ecology is the platform on which we are surviving. Luckily, our ancestors had been responsible enough to lend us this beautiful ecology or the ecosystem, but we are being so to blame that we are going to spoil our future generation, and there is no doubt. Alright, so there are so many films that is coming up, right? But yes, we watch the film, we understand the concept, we appreciate the actor, we appreciate the story writer, and then we walk out to do the same thing back again. Yes, how many of you carry your own bag when you go to a supermarket even now? I don't think many of you do. Yes. How many of you have the habit of throwing the wrappers in the dustbin? That is a simple thing that I want you to do. Okay. So when you go out, when you're eating something, how many of you put the wrapper down? Yes. And you call yourself bunch of literates. Why do you do that? Yes. Where are positive blood and group antigens? So you're asking about RH positive? Yes, on the surface of your RBC. Alright, so a positive negative indicates your RH group. Okay, so the simple thing that I want to do is don't throw wrappers on the road. So wherever you are, however you busy, you must have pockets, right? So put it in your pocket. When you meet a dustbin, throw it in the dustbin. That is as simple as that. That tells you how responsible you are to your future generation. Alright, yes. So please don't throw paper cups. So if you're having tea, coffee, so please don't throw your paper cups down. So even if the dustbin is 1 kilometer far, make sure you walk and throw. Okay, put it in your bag. I know tea cups you cannot put it, but chocolate wrapper, biscuit wrapper, you can put it in your bag and later put it in the dustbin, right? At least that is the difference between the educated bunch and the uneducated bunch. Okay, so these days the uneducated bunch is way smarter than the educated bunch. Yes, because we are too busy in reading electron transport system, photosynthesis, that we don't have time for small morals around us, right? So we are living in that era. Hey, come on, those are small things that we read in moral science class that I won't be following right now because I am reading about photosynthesis in higher plants. Yes, do you guys do that? So that is a very good habit that you always use dustbin. Alright, so this is about the division of ecology. So we have 4 chapters, 2% weightage each, but it is a very important chapter. So like Satyendra told us, they have more than 10 plus questions because it is a chapter of concern and it is a need of the hour. Okay, there are very less ecologists in the world who actually understand the problem behind. Okay, now but by the end of the 4 chapters in ecology, let me tell you, you and I will feel as guilty as possible for ending up in this state of earth, right? But let's see. So, but before we actually go into the topic, so what is ecology? So, I've been telling so much of things about ecology. The hype was too high. I understand. But how do you define ecology? For all those who do not know what ecology is, but have been trying to understand because I was talking something for the last 10 minutes, let me tell you what ecology is. Ecology is a subject which studies the interaction among organisms and between the organism and its physical environment. So, interaction among organisms. For example, a dog interacts with you, right? Yes, have you seen? The dog wags his tail, the dog nods, the dog jumps. So, it is responding to you, it's trying to communicate with you. Plants are also responding to you. How many of you like gardening? If you're really involved in gardening, yes, plants do respond to you. That you should understand, and that is an art of dealing with animals and plants. Just like that, if you walk out on the road and say, hey dog, come here, talk to me, of course it will bark at you. So, everything takes time. So, always remember, good things take time. Okay. So, we are talking about the interaction among organisms as well as the interaction between an organism and its environment. For example, we are interacting with an environment. So, if you have so much of biodegradable things present here, how will the nature degrade it? And in turn, it's going to give you consequences. In turn, your food chain is getting affected. In turn, your water bodies are getting affected. So, that is the interaction that we have. Alright. So, the study, that subject is called as ecology. Okay, so if you actually, I don't know how many of you know, so ecology is a separate field. So just like you say you are a doctor, being an ecologist is also of a higher value in foreign countries where people have understood the contemporary stage of what the ecosystem is right now. So if you are an ecologist, so just Google the ecology studies in abroad, so say Australia, say in UK, you have hell a lot of them. So ecology is a subject that is most respected because people understand the concern right now. So how many of you have heard about climate change associations, climate change conferences, national global climate change phenomena, global climate change talk? Because it is actually necessary. You and I don't care. It does not mean that is not a very serious problem. You and I care about only one problem: when is the NEET exam, right? But no, out of the 4 walls there's something beyond. If there is no earth, then come on, yeah, where is the NEET exam? Yes, so that is the importance of ecology, and that is what we are going to study. Alright, yes, so ecologically is basically concerned with 4 levels of biological organization. So what are the 4 levels of biological organization? First is organisms. 2 is population. So first we'll talk about the diversity of organism. How are they present? Where are they present? Okay. Then population. So how are they spread? So what is a pattern of population? For example, in North India, you have a separate type of population. Say in North India itself. So Rajasthan has a different group of population. If you go to UP, the population pattern is different. The way they eat, the food that they have, everything is different, right? Then community. So how we have divided ourselves into communities. Okay. So that is also an interaction. So then biomes. So biomes refers to the entire ecosystem. For example, a desert is a biome. Rainforest is a biome. So rainforest has all the animals. It also has biotic and abiotic factors. So talking about all that comes under your biomes. Alright? Yes. So you understood what ecology is? Fine. So going forward, now we enter into a chapter. So this is lecture 1 of organism and population. This is not clear in this color. So this is lecture 1 and we are starting with the first chapter of your ecology unit. So that is organism and population. So going forward, what are the topics in this chapter and what are we going to discuss? So point number 1, we are going to introduce, so we are going to just talk about or introduce the chapter, what we are going to study in this chapter. Then we'll talk about organism and its environment, okay? For example, if you're living in this environment, so we'll talk about you and we'll talk about the environment surrounding it. Then we are going to talk about the major abiotic factors in the environment. For example, we need light, yes. Then we need water, we need temperature. So temperature has to be optimal for us. Suddenly a person cannot stay in minus 25 degree. It's not possible. Your body will not be able to adapt at such a short transition. All right. Then we'll talk about the responses to abiotic factor. First, we'll address what are the major abiotic factors we have. Then we'll address how we are going to respond to those abiotic factors. So abiotic factors, abiotic, they are non-living factors. So abiotic factors include your temperature, light, etc. Then we are going to talk about adaptations. So how are we getting adapted? For example, polar bear has a different adaptation and the cows in your street has a different adaptation. You cannot interchange their place. Yes. So that is what we are going to talk about in adaptation. So the one that is highlighted is the major heading. The one that is not highlighted are the subheadings. All right. Next, we'll talk about populations. So the next heading is your population. So population, we'll see what are the subheadings later. First, let's try to complete organism and its environment. Fine? Yes, shall we go into this topic, organism and environment? So is it, are you feeling sleepy? Is this chapter boring? Yes, was the introduction itself very elaborate and pretty boring? Huh? No one seems to send any message. Why? It can be of two reasons. One, it is too interesting that you are listening to me. Unnoticed that you don't know that you have to text. Or you are very sleepy that you dozed off. So which is the reason? Which means no ma'am means if the chapter is interesting. Okay, Anthony Abhi says it's interesting. Alright, okay. So no one has dozed off here. Great. So have you all shared the link? Yes, have you all liked the session? It's exciting. Alright, okay, fine. Great. So let's enter into organism and population. So let's see what the introduction has to say. Interested by Anthony Abhi. Oh my god. Okay. Yes. So when we were talking about class 11, so we actually spoke about the first unit, right? So diversity in living worlds. So under that we spoke about 4 chapters, and we first read the so there were lectures of the 4 chapters, and then we even revised the chapters. It was as saturating as possible that I will never forget Animal Kingdom in my life. Okay, so if you remember those units, so we were talking about the living world again and again. It all started with the first chapter, living world, where we spoke about how you have living world, how do you recognize a living organism, what is the difference between living organism, non-living organism. Then we also went on to talk about the classification. So it all started with the kingdom and it ended with the genus, right? Sorry, species. So that is where we were talking most brimmingly about the living world. It was brimming with life. So similarly, starting from that point of view, so living world is fascinatingly diverse and amazingly complex. Yes, it is fascinatingly diverse because till today there is a discovery of a new species. You won't know, be it ants, be it anything, okay, be it a bird. So you have a lot of species that is discovered every day. So if you look at the statistics, if you can just go to the National Geographic page and find it, you'll be amazed. You'll see figures that you have never heard of, you have never imagined of, you have never seen in your life. Okay, so such amazing species are present. So it is fascinatingly diverse. So trust me, you and I cannot create this, and no human can create such a beautifully, fantastically diverse organism. All right. And at the same time, we are amazingly complex. So even when we're talking about the phylum Porphyra, where we spoke about the members of sponges, though they were very, very lower eukaryotes, okay, so they were primitive eukaryotes, but still they were complex in their own way, right? So we spoke about the spongiocele, we spoke about the ostia, we spoke about the osculum. It is not simple. You cannot just say it is just a body. It also has parts. So everything is amazingly complex in its own way. So when you talk about human beings, yes, we are complex in our own way. We are complex to the core. So when you talk about the mental behavior, amazingly complex we are, right? So you cannot understand, okay, so this is the character of a person. They can have bipolar disorders, they can have anything, right? So at one point they behave, yes, that is how you try to perceive the situation as. So that is what you tend to think about a particular situation, and that is why we are amazingly complex, okay? So if you have to understand this complexity among the diverse living creatures, so how do? You investigate the process at various levels of biological organization. For example, if you're talking about a fish, so there are so many varieties of fishes, right? So more than you can actually count. It is not actually countable. You have n number of fishes. So how are they being produced? What is the pattern of the diversity? Then how are they interacting with their ecosystem? So their ecosystem is water ecosystem, right? So how are they interacting? So what is the level of interaction? So if you understand that, we'll understand the complexity of the living organism. So what are we going to study in this levels of biological organization? So what are the levels of biological organization? So point number 1 is your macromolecules. So we'll start from the least level. So we start from your macromolecules. So what are your macromolecules? Carbohydrates, proteins, fats and nucleic acids, right? So these are your macromolecules. So then macromolecules are present inside your cells. So group of cells form your tissues, tissues form your organs, organs form your individual organism, and a group of individual organism forms a population, and a group of population forms a community, and a group of community forms an ecosystem, and a group of ecosystem forms a biome. Okay, so this is the levels of biological organization. It all starts with your macromolecules. Macromolecules are present inside your cell. Cells make up tissues, tissues make up organs, organ makes up an individual organism, and individual organism, so group of individual organism makes a population, so group of population makes a community, group of community makes an ecosystem, and group of ecosystem makes a biome. Alright, so this is what we are going to study. Yes, this itself is pretty complex, yes, I understand, but yes, but it is beautiful in its own way. What is this? I know it's a bird, but can you identify what type of bird it is? Yes, can you identify and tell me what type of bird is this? Yes. What kind of bird it is? It's very beautiful, right? It's a clear picture. Yes. What kind of bird is this? Yes, all those who said you're not sleeping and you find the chapter very interesting, can you tell me what kind of bird is this? Woodcutter. Oi, no, it's not woodcutter. It's not woodcutter. Borer bird, woodcutter. It's a bulbul. Okay, it's a simple bulbul. It's a red Indian bulbul. Alright. So what does a bulbul do? Hummingbird. Yes, you can say hummingbird also. So a bulbul actually sings. So why it sings and how it sings? So I am just giving you a very simple example to all this. So why we are studying this? Okay. Why does a bulbul sing? And how does it sing? Do you know? Do you know how does the bulbul sing? If you want to answer these two questions, so the how question, how does the bulbul sing, then you have to study the mechanism of its voice box. Yes, how it produces the sound, etc. So you literally have to study the mechanism. But why does it sing? Why does the bulbul sing? So why do you study? Because you want to get admitted into a good medical college, right? So why does the bulbul sing? The bulbul has no particular aim like that it will sing and enter into a medical college. So why does the bulbul sing? So that it can communicate with its mates. In a way, it is trying to interact with the surroundings. So that is the reason a bulbul sings. Okay, physiology and ecology. Yes, basically right. So this is about the physiology and this is ecology. So to address the why part of the question is what you have an entire unit, entire new field that is called as ecology. All right. Yes, do you understand? Fine. So going forward, there are some more interesting questions. Question number 1, why are night blooming flowers generally white? Why are night blooming flowers generally white? How does the bee know which flower has the nectar? How do you know which flower has a very good nectar? Yes. Why does cactus have so many thorns? So do you know which chapter will have maximum questions? Yes, of course you have human physiology, and human physiology you have your chemical coordination. In which part of chemical coordination will you have maximum number of questions? You don't know because we are human beings, right? But why does a cactus have many thorns? And how does a chick's spears recognize her own mother? So how are these things happening? So these are naturally happening. But how are these happening? Why are these happening? That is very important. How is different, but why are these happening? It is a part of your ecology. It is trying to interact among themselves and also with the environment. Alright? Yes, always light blooming flowers are white. Okay, and always a bee knows which flower has the highest or the sweetest nectar. All right. In addition to doctor, I'll become scientist. Definitely, ma'am. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Antonia B. Become an ecologist. All right. So ecology is a very, very beautiful field. Okay. You get to know a lot of things. Okay. It's not that you and I are only existing. There are a hell a lot of things existing, and directly or indirectly, a lot of organisms are influencing our life. So you and I don't know, but yes. Okay. So this is about your honeybee. And of course, cactus has thorns. Ma'am, it is because of adaptation. Yes, that is also a type of ecology. So you and I also get adapted, right? And these are the chick. So the small chick, how does it identify a mother? So that is the most interesting question. So just try to find out the answer. How or why does this happen? Okay, fine. So going further, ecology at organismic level, essentially the physiological ecology. Yes, just like Satyendra told us, physiology. So physiological ecology talks about how different organisms are and how are they adapted to their environments for survival and reproduction. For example, if you talk about a polar bear is adapted to live in such a cold condition where it can survive as well as it can reproduce, right? For example, when you talk about a normal lab dog, yes, it can survive at home. Yes, that is how it is adapted to. It can eat the food that you give. Yes, it can tolerate the temperature that is present, and it knows how to adapt to its surroundings when it's raining, when it's actually hot. It knows how to tolerate. Yes, it can survive beautifully and it can reproduce. So that is the study of physiological ecology. First, we study the different organisms that is present and how they are being adapted to their environments. So annual variations, you know, due to the rotation of the earth around its axis, you have annual variations in intensity and duration of temperature. Yes, at night you have a particular temperature, and during the day you have a different temperature, right? Especially during the mid-noon, you have the peak of temperature during summer. Then it also results in distinct seasons. So the variations plus the annual variation in precipitation, these variations plus the annual variation in precipitation leads to the formation of major biomes, alright. So this variations leads to the formation of a particular biome. So what are biomes? Desert. So in desert you have a particular intensity and duration of temperature. You have a particular variation in your precipitation. So depending on these variations you form a particular biome. So what is a biome? So examples of biome are desert, rainforest and tundra regions. Alright. For example, desert has a different temperature, different light and day temperatures. Rainforest has a different set of organisms, different set of pattern. Everything is different, right? So that is called as a biome. So these are the different biomes: desert, rainforest, ocean, tropical, and then this is what? Again, this is your hot springs, I guess. Fine. Is this much clear to all of you? Fine. So the regional and local variation within each biome leads to the formation of a wide variety of habitat. So for example, when I say a desert habitat, desert is huge. When I say a ocean ecosystem, that is huge. Ocean water biome is very huge, right? Yes, coming. So that is very, very huge when you talk about regional and local variation within each biome. So each and everything, for example, when you take deserts all over, when you take the Thar desert, when you take the Sahara desert, so you have different habitats that are present. You have different species that are present. It is not that Thar desert is exactly similar to the Sahara desert, right? So it is pretty different. So regional and local variations within each biome. So formation of wide variety of habitats. So tundra region is where you have your snowfall as well as high precipitation rate. Okay. Yes, so it leads to a wide variety of habitat. So what are the major biomes in India? So number 1, tropical rainforest. Number 2, deciduous forest. Number 3, desert. Number 4, sea coast. So these are the different biomes of India. So tropical rainforest, deciduous forest is your temperate zone, then desert and then the sea coast. So 4 major biomes of India. Fine. So on earth, life exists in extreme as well as in harsh habitats. Yes. So one example of your harsh habitats are your archaebacteria, which can survive in extremes of extreme temperatures. For example, a life exists in your scorching Rajasthan desert. Yes, you have your desert animal camel living. Then you have your rain-soaked Himalayan forest. There are some animals which will only live in rainforest. Then deep ocean trenches. You have a lot of species in your deep ocean trenches. Torrential streams. Then in snow-laden polar regions. Then high mountain tops, thermal springs, and even in stinking compost pit, you have the growth of your microbes, right? Hold on. Even in our intestine, we have a very, very unique habitat. Even your life can survive there. There is hundreds of species of microbes. So be proud of yourself. You're at least, you're the house, you're providing space, you're providing accommodation for hundreds of species of microbes, which in turn prove beneficial to you. All right? Yes. So you're no less. You also have a property that you have lended to thousands of microbes. All right? And without them, you are not a healthy or a perfect human being. Yes, you need microbes for your living. All right, so these are some of the pictures that I want to show you. So this is your Thar Desert. This is your Meghalayan rainforest. That is your ocean, deep ocean trenches. So life in your deep ocean trenches is as diverse as you can see anywhere. So this has maximum diversity. So if you see animal kingdom, so till your vertebrata, even there, till your class Reptilia, so everything was marine, right? Except one or two was ectoderm, endoderm, so the rest was all marine, right? So this is your torrential streams. So even here you have your living organisms. Yes, of course you have microorganisms surviving here as well. All right, is this clear? So this is your polar ice cap, etc. But tell me, why if you bring a polar bear to our place, why won't it survive? Temperature there is high, but here it is less, right? Compared to there. Okay, so temperature there is less, here is high. So what difference it is going to make? So here also, if I turn on the AC for the polar bear, is it going to affect it? Why am I saying that they are but restricted to a particular temperature? Of course, if you go to a Himalayan region, by 2-3 days you can adapt, right? Is that so? So if I bring a polar bear here, will the polar bear die? Yes, do you have any idea? Will the polar bear die if I bring the polar bear here? Yes. What is your opinion in this? Come on, answer me. Will a polar bear die if I bring it here? So find out. Okay. So what are the key elements that lead to so much variation in physical and chemical conditions of different habitats? For example, now, right now in your house you are existing, you have your dog or your cat, you have your cow, buffalo, etc. You also have the nearby microorganisms living around you. So how such a variation is leading, so how such, what are the key elements that are leading to such variations? You have a particular variation, right? And you have certain chemical conditions that you are attached to a particular habitat. So what leads to this variation? Coat fat is present. Yeah, okay. So if I bring the polar bear here and if I turn on the AC, will it be fine? So can I make the polar bear live in AC for all day? That is my question. So what are the key elements that lead to such variation? Is your temperature, water, light and soil. They are the four major key elements that play an important role in variations in physical and chemical conditions of different habitats. Okay, yes, they die. Why? That is my question. Why do they die? Okay, good. So you answered one part of the question. I asked, will they survive? Yes, you said they will die. Okay, but why? Why will they die? Fine. So remember, the physiochemical components alone do not characterize the habitat of an organism completely. It is not only the abiotic component that decides the characteristic or the adaptation of a particular organism. It is equally the biotic factors as well. Once again, what is abiotic and biotic? Are you guys clear with that? So abiotic, this is non-living. Biotic, it is living. So abiotic refers to your temperature, water, light and soil. And it also depends on the biotic components. Biotic components are pathogens, parasites, predators, competitors of the organism with which they interact constantly. Yes, we keep interacting with pathogens. Yes, so every day we are getting exposed to a lot of virus and bacteria. We also interact with your parasites like your mosquito. We also have predators. Yes, who are our predators? For example, for a dog, for a deer, yes, you have predators living nearby, that is a lion or a tiger, and we also have a competitors for food, right? So all these organisms also make up the equal contribution which determines the variation. Alright, so what leads to these variation are both your biotic and abiotic factors. So first we'll talk about your abiotic factors and then go on to talk about your biotic factors. Alright, so over a period of time, organisms through the process of natural selection evolved to adaptations. They optimize its survival and reproduction in its habitat. So you all understood, so variation gives rise to evolution. So variation is one major phenomenon that talks about evolution, right? That leads to evolution. So over a period of time, so organisms through the process of natural selection evolve to particular adaptations so that it can optimize its survival and reproduction rate. So once again, survival of the fittest and natural selection plays a very, very important role. So nature selects which can best survive in its environment. So over a period, so living organisms, be it plants, animals, microbes, etc. So they have been selected through natural selection and they have been adapted to a particular kind of adaptation so that it can optimize its survival and reproduction in that particular habitat. So for a long period over evolution, camel has been surviving in the desert conditions. Yes, so now it is well acquainted to survive in the desert condition. So you and I are humans, but even then we cannot adapt to desert conditions as much as the camel has adapted, right? Due to the failure of your homeostasis mechanism. See, for example, proteins in that particular polar bear are active at that particular temperature. They have a different optimal temperature and a different optimal pH, whereas a cat or dog that is present next to you has a different protein activity. So that differs, alright? So that is the main problem. Fine? Okay. So each organism, thus the conclusion is that each organism has an invariably defined range of conditions that can tolerate diversity in resources it utilizes and has a distinct functional role in the ecological system that is called as a niche. So once again, each organism has an invariably defined range of conditions, what it can tolerate, what diversity in resources it can utilize, and what are the distinct functional roles in the ecological system it can play. That is called as a niche. So what is your niche? Your niche is your home because you're comfortable in your house. So you have your favorite room, your favorite bed, your favorite books, etc. So your niche is your home. So that is your comfort zone. So similarly, each organism has a comfort zone. For example, when you talk about camel, the niche of the camel is desert, right? So the niche of a camel is the desert biome. So that is called as a niche. So it talks about the defined range of an organism where it can tolerate, the diversity of resources that it can explore, and what are the functions that it can contribute to the ecological system. So that is called as a niche. So niche also we say for a stem cell. So here if this is a group of cells, okay, so this is a tissue and here you have a lot of stem cell. And here you have normal cells. So this basically happens in your microvilli because your intestinal cells are constantly being replaced. So the lower portion has your stem cell and each of the stem cell will differentiate into a stem cell of its kind and toward another type of cell, right? So the another type of cell moves up and stem cell comes back here. So this is called as a stem cell niche where all the stem cells are present together. Here all the transcription factors needed for your stem cell production are present here. This is called as a stem cell niche. So all the factors, all the elements that are needed for the formation of stem cell is present here. Hence it is called as a stem cell niche. So is the case with your organism. For example, polar bear has all its conditions met only in the polar regions. So that is the niche of a polar bear, right? For example, you cannot find a polar bear in a street nearby. Yes, that is not possible. For example, a fish is adapted to live here. For example, some fish can live only in marine, some fish can live in salt water. So it differs, right? So that is called as a niche. Yes, done. So I will stop right here. So in the next class, we'll talk about the major abiotic factors. We'll talk about temperature, how temperature defines a niche, how water defines a niche, and how light affects the process. Alright, so these are the three things that we're going to talk about. So we'll start off with this in the next lecture. So we'll talk about this on Friday. I also remember you guys asked for a special section on how to solve pedigree analysis. So don't worry, I'm bringing that session as well. So meanwhile, you might have a quiz on Friday. So the chapters will be Cell, the Unit of Life, and Cell Cycle, because it's been a long time since we revised those chapters. So I thought we'll revise those chapters now. Okay, again it will be a 15 minutes quiz, 15 question quiz for 30 minutes. So where each question you will have 20 seconds. Alright, so the chapter is to be continued. So if you genuinely like the chapter, if you're genuinely interested in ecology, if you found interest because of what I spoke today, so please do like, share and subscribe the channel, and I'll be forever grateful to you. Alright. So tomorrow at 3 p.m. we'll be talking about anatomy. So I will try to finish anatomy tomorrow. Alright, yes. So very soon we'll start human physiology, because that is a chapter you guys are looking forward to, right? Yes, so have a great evening and thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. So it was great interacting with you. So take care and bye-bye.